Hi, Kevin Purcell for GottaBeMobile.com, and today I've got the Huawei Ascend Mate 2. Now, Huawei doesn't have a really good reputation here in the United States. It's pretty popular over in China, but they actually pulled back in the U.S. market last year because they really weren't selling well because of the poor reputation that they had. But they've reinserted themselves with this new phone, and it is a phablet style. As you can see, it's a 6.1 inch screen. It's got a 1.6 megahertz Qualcomm processor inside, along with 2 gigabytes of RAM and a 16 gig storage. It runs on 4G, and the screen resolution is a low at 1280 by 720, which is, technically HD, but the bare minimum for HD. It is Gorilla Glass, Corningware Gorilla Glass on top, and so the screen's really durable, and it's not going to scratch very easily. But as you can see, despite the low specs as far as processor, memory, that kind of thing, it does run fairly smoothly. We'll pop open the default web browser, not my favorite. Now, unfortunately, it only runs Android 4.3 Jelly Bean, and Huawei is silent on when we're going to get an update. Now, what really sets this phone apart here is the battery life. I've just recently charged it. Actually, I charged it yesterday and used it all night, and notice it's saying that it's got 65% of its battery left. This has been sitting on while I've written the review, so the screen's been on for hours today. And notice it says that it's got 1 day and 6 hours, 56 minutes. I actually tested it, and we got over 4 hours. Now, as I think about the period in which I was testing it, maybe I was using it a little less than normal, but even if I use it twice as much as I did during my test, 2 days and 4 hours of battery life is pretty impressive for a phone. It's got a 3900 milliamp battery in it. What's really nice is, you can take this for a weekend trip, which is what I did recently, and you're not going to have to even bring your charger. Obviously most people will, just in case, but you could go, a Friday night, Saturday, and most of the day Sunday, and come back Sunday night and really not need to charge your phone. That's really impressive. A cool feature of this phone is a reverse charging cable that you can get for $10 from Huawei, and it lets you charge accessories from the battery of the phone. So just pick this up at Huawei. There's a link in the article that goes with this video over at GottaBeMobile.com, and you can plug it right into another device and charge that device while it's plugged into the phone. The other thing I like about it is the incredible size. This thing makes the Samsung Galaxy Note actually feel a little bit small. Now, it's hard to tell on camera here the difference, but there you can see, if I move it over, you can see how much wider it is and how much taller the screen is. The Galaxy Note has a 5.7 inch screen. This has a 6.1, so you're almost a half an inch larger. The other thing that I notice about it is when you look at the two screens, even though the Samsung screen has a much higher resolution, almost probably more than just about double of it, the screens really don't look that much different. This one's got a bright, colorful screen and looks pretty good. But I would like them to bump up the resolution on it. Now you notice it is all plastic. I'll show you here on the back, but it's a very hard plastic. It doesn't feel cheap or flimsy. But notice here this cheap, flimsy back that you get with Samsung. This one doesn't feel like it. Now, if you pop off the back on this, I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you pop off the back here, it is thin plastic, but what you'll notice is the huge battery is not removable. Here we've got the SIM card slot and the micro SD card slot. It'll pack up to, I believe, 64 or gigabyte SD card. But you don't really need to remove the battery on a phone that's got this much battery life to it. It's fairly thin. Over here on this side, you notice it's got the volume and power button. The power button being at the bottom feels a little strange, although it's there, but anybody who's an experienced phone user is going to kind of look for it at the top, and I kept turning up the volume instead of powering it off. It's got speaker and micro SD port, nothing on this side, and then we have our headphone and speaker at the top. The speakers are kind of weak, not really great sound in this phone. It has a front-facing 5 gigabyte camera, 5 megapixel camera I should say, and I've just wiped it, so that's why it's not showing anything. On the back it's got a 13 megapixel camera with some pretty impressive quality. You know, the shots do look pretty good. You're not going to have to worry too much about poor quality images. Now notice here I'm going through, and I took a whole bunch of shots with all the different filters that it has available. They're okay. You know, I'm not a big filter guy, so I'm not that impressed with it. But read the review for more about the camera and the quality of it. It's sort of hard to demonstrate here on screen. One thing you will notice is, take a look at this little button here. This is called the Wow button. You can close that. You can put it on either side. It doesn't stay in the middle. And this is like a back button down here. This is like the home button, the lock button. This one will clean the memory. Notice it's doing its job. It basically just shuts down unused apps. And then over here we get the app button, which you flare out a few more apps. Open up your calendar. Notice it pops a calendar right over the top of the screen. Here we get a messaging window. And we get a note window. You can create yourself a little note. And then a quick calculator. That's a nice touch. I sort of like that. One of the things you won't see right now is when your battery starts to get a little bit low, you'll see a battery graph up here, and then every once in a while a notice will show that you're running a pretty high-powered app that's taking up a lot of battery life. But it's got these quick function buttons here, and if you tap on that, you can change the ones that are available. One of the things that kind of is annoying is you don't get an app drawer button. You know, you just it's like they put all the apps on the main screen. Now I do want to show you the simple mode, home screen style. Switch it over to a simple mode, hit apply, and notice you get a real simple interface with large buttons. One of the things I'll say about this phone is it does have a simple interface, and would be a great phone for someone who is a first-time smartphone user, a first-time Android user, or maybe someone like an elderly person whose eyesight is poor. Because of these large buttons, a family member could buy the phone for them, set it up in this mode, and you can always get back to the standard home screen by tapping on that. You can add in contact buttons or other application buttons, and it's a nice feature. I actually think that this, I wouldn't use it, but I think this would be a great interface for someone who struggles with the traditional Android user interface. So I am a Samsung Galaxy Note 3 user, so you know I can't do without the digitizer. That's why even the phone this size with this largest screen and that much battery life still wouldn't appeal to me. But people who don't care about the digitizer in the Note 3, the S Pen, I think this would be a great option. I haven't even shared with you one of the most important features of it, and that is the price. This phone is only $300 off contract. That means that you pay just $100 more than you would probably pay for this phone traditionally. You know, most phones usually are about $200, sometimes $250. So for $300, you get the phone and you're not stuck into a 2-year contract. That's a great price. That's probably why we get a low resolution screen, slightly slower processor, not enough storage space, you know, and that's probably why they haven't spent a lot of money creating their Evolution UI for Android KitKat 4.4 yet. if they would do those things, if they would give us an option with a higher resolution screen, like the Samsung, a 32 gigabyte storage, and maybe an upgrade to Android 4.4, I'd get really excited about this phone, and I think they'd have a hit, and they'd probably sell a ton of them, even if they went $400 off contract. But for now, I just would say, who is this a good option for? Probably first-time buyers. I would say that enthusiasts could buy this for a friend or family member who's never owned a smartphone before, and they'd be really pleased with it if they think they'd really like that phablet large screen style. Also, older people who don't see as well, they would really, really like this phone. You're not going to want to buy this for an enthusiast. People who really love smartphones and are power users, they're not going to be happy with this phone. So if you're one of those, don't pick it up. But everybody else, I think, would probably, the average person, I think, would be really pleased with this phone and really surprised if they know the history of Huawei. If Huawei keeps making this quality of hardware, they're going to do well in their new attempt to try to push into the United States market. And so I'd call this a buy at $300. This has been Kevin Purcell for GottaBeMobile.com. Thank you for watching.